Hello and welcome back to the Trainwell podcast, inspiring you to move more, get stronger, and have fun. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what we kind of gave a little Easter egg to last week. We wanted to do an episode on slowing it down. We're all moving so fast at the speed of light, trying to do the most. We're going to talk about how to slow down, the areas that you can slow down in. We're going to talk about the benefits of doing so. And we're going to talk about the cons of trying to do the most and how that actually might be sabotaging your goals instead of helping you achieve your goals.
This makes me wonder, in this day and age, why have we become so busy? 100 years ago, were people busy? 500 years ago, were people obsessed over being busy? Because everyone you meet now, you're like, hey, Darian, how's it going? And it seems like their response is, I'm busy. I'm busy. I can't stand it. I have made it a code to never respond with that, I am busy. But why do we wear this as a badge of honor so much that we're always on the go, hustle and bustle? I know it's very common in America, especially, but I want people to ask themselves, if they're actually being productive or just exhaustive,
Yeah, I think it is very American for sure. I don't think other countries, maybe if you're listening from outside of the US, tell us if this is a thing where you live. But in America, in the US, we're so focused on achievement and success and doing better than our parents did, doing better than our previous self did. We're kind of always in competition with, if not someone else, ourselves. We're constantly in competition. We have to do more. We have to do more. It's the nature of our society, I think, because we live in this capitalist society where achievement means so much, where productivity is success. You constantly have to be productive. Man, and I have to say, I've been thinking so much about this recently because I have felt so incredibly busy with work, with the kids, with my house, with, it just, as you get older, you only get more and more responsibilities. And it really comes down to us. I was actually just listening to a podcast the other day. We'll shout it out. If you listen to Glennon Doyle's podcast, We Can Do Hard Things, her sister was talking about how she has all the makings of this beautiful life, but everything feels like a duty to her. To make it this beautiful life, she has to do, accomplish, achieve, organize, prepare, schedule. And then there's no joy in that. And I think as that relates to fitness, I don't want to ramble on forever, but I think this realization hit me because at a time, if you've been listening, you know that I had a very unhealthy relationship with exercise at a certain point. I was doing 11 workouts a week. I had my workouts scheduled. It was the standard CrossFit recommendation of 3 on, 1 off, intense CrossFit workouts. Plus I was running a Wendler program. So I was doing 2-a-days. And I was trying to fit in yoga sessions as well. And I was doing an hour-long walk and stair drills and stuff every day, every single day, trying to achieve at that time just the perfect quote unquote body. And I just kept getting further and further and further away from my goals. And it was killing me. I was like, what is going wrong here? I am doing the most. I should look like a professional athlete at this point. And I wasn't. And it was really hard.
It's so funny in fitness because for the modern person or the average Joe listening, you have to, I want to ask you, Darian, when you were on that hustle and bustle flow with an insane workout routine and a structured eating routine and all that, like what
Mm,
did it get you? Because you weren't cashing $1 million checks like a professional athlete, right?
no.
And so like looking back on that now, like of course you probably regret it, but tell me like why was it, what specifically about it made it so counterintuitive, or why was it such a burden on your body? Like walk us through that.
Well, I think the thing is like we are told in our society that like and it is true, unfortunately, that like when you have a certain body type, you are you have higher status. It is unfortunately true. And you just want to look the certain way. The way that I looked at that time, I was so morphed. Like I had like this body dysmorphia that I really just hated the way that I looked, that my body looked. It was so deeply painful to me. And at that time, everyone's favorite motto is, oh, we'll just eat less and exercise more. So I was eating as a little as I possibly could and exercising as most as I possibly could, as much as I possibly could. And it became my identity. It became, I kept, your brain just does something. My brain did. I think people could resonate with this. It becomes who you are. I'm the person who can be disciplined. I'm the person who can be perfect. I will not miss a workout. It just becomes this like badge of honor that you feel like you're important, or at least I did. Felt like there was this importance, like people could look at me and go, "Wow, okay, I want to do that. Like I want to look like that. I want to be that strong." And really it meant that my life was like the most regimented, like joyless life where everything I did revolved around my eating and my workouts. Everything I thought about, everything I wrote down, every book I read was about eating and workouts, eating and workouts, eating and workouts. And it wasn't until I realized this exact thing that you said, which was like, that is so unimportant. That is so unimportant that I was just starting to be able to come out of that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's important for people to hear. By the way, she was a personal trainer, so she was a little biased reading all that stuff too. But
But
even though, like, that is more
yeah,
important because there's people out there who are accountants or lawyers or whatever, and they're still going through that. And for us as
yeah,
trainers to say, "Hey, it's okay," and I've experienced this a lot myself, but the people we used to work with, especially anyone out there who's a former athlete, especially in college or professionally, when you retire from that sport, it is very hard to transition out of that identity. Some not so much, but there's a balance there that you really need to respect. And I'm getting away from the fitness aspect here, but just in life, it's going to bleed everywhere. If you're constantly worried about how you perform or what you squat or how hard you jump, how high you jump, it's going to lead to more stress at the workplace, more stress at home. It's going to bleed into like the most important relationships of your life. And so tying this back into fitness, I want to talk about cortisol, right? D, when you were, well, tell us what cortisol is, because I'm sure you can relate to it. And tell us why is that so bad for the body physically, physiologically, etc.
yeah. So, really quick to your point, though, about being a personal trainer, had I not developed a really unhealthy relationship with fitness, I don't know that I would have become a personal trainer. It, I could only think about this one thing that I made my identity, and then I became a full time personal trainer, which is like, just it was just part of the obsession of it. Obviously now I'm like so grateful to be in this career path and in this industry, but man, it started from like a relatively dark place. um but I think bringing up cortisol is spot on. We need to take that into account. If you haven't listened to our series about perimenopause, we talked about cortisol a lot, so go back and listen to those episodes. But briefly, cortisol is the stress hormone in your body. I think a lot of people know this now. Because finally, we're really talking about hormones in a way where we're like, yeah, that's really important. It has a huge effect on your body. When your cortisol is high, and remember, exercise is not, um, oh, I'm going to, like drawing a blank on the word for it. It's a common word we say all the time in fitness. It doesn't build you up, doesn't repair the muscle. It's catabolic. Exercise is catabolic. It breaks down the muscle and it raises your cortisol. It's a stress on the body. If you're constantly going, constantly exercising and nonstop, your cortisol is never going down. It's just chronically up.
The reason why I bring up cortisol is because if you're busy, right, you're going to be rushing, right? You're going to be trying to, well, sometimes, I guess I shouldn't lay a blanket on this statement, but if you're always rushing, right, and you're always busy, you're trying to squeeze workouts in, your cortisol is going to be high. And so physiologically, that's why it's bad, is because your body really doesn't recover at all. I shouldn't say it doesn't recover when you're busy. It adapts when you recover, which is massive for people to hear, right? So, Date, how can we slow down? How can we, and let's not just do, I guess, life, but specifically in fitness. Like if you're in Darian's shoes and or was in Darian's shoes, right, where you have to get your workout in, you have to do a 2 a day, you have to eat this, you're stacking. How do we pull back from that? What are some practical steps we can do?
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of fear around doing less when it comes to fitness because we've all been brainwashed to think we have to do more. You only need to do the minimal effective dose, which it's not that much, honestly. If we're being honest, you do not have to work out every day. You do not have to do, 10 plus lifts in the gym or extra movements or take an hour long class. You don't have to do that. You can be very strategic about how you work out. That really doesn't take a lot of time in your week and feels good in your body. So here was the realization I had. I had the realization when I was 29. So I just turned 39, January 4th. 10 years ago, I had the realization that I did not want to live the rest of my life by my fitness calendar and by a diet. It was no fun, and I had no room for anything else in my life. And I read 2 books. I read Intuitive Eating and I read Health at Every Size. And it really changed my perspective. Highly recommend reading both those books. So it was at this time that I decided I'm not dieting anymore. I need a reset. I need to get back to being able to listen to my hunger cues. That was scary. That was a 5-year journey of discomfort, essentially, of having to just trust myself again and be okay with not being totally comfortable in my body in terms of how it looked and accepting where I was and just trusting that I would come out on the other side. And along with that, I thought, well, if I am trying to control how I eat too much and that's having a really negative impact on my body and my well-being, I would think that exercise is the same way. I need to stop doing this much exercise so I can feel what my body feels like again without me forcing it to constantly be doing exercise. And I went from doing like 11 workouts a week to doing 4, then to doing 2, and just being gentle with myself and just going for walks, doing some yoga, doing 2 strength training sessions. And you would not believe that I finally started to see what I wanted to see in my body only when I started doing less. And that I'm not saying that that was like the big payoff of doing less, that yay, my body started to look the way I want. The payoff was I got my life back. I could just sit. I didn't have, because I think it's bigger than just my body. It was this pressure we all have, at least in this country, of constantly having to achieve, of constantly having to do, of not being allowed to just sit and just be. And when I started to just be, my goodness, my body felt better. My head felt better. My heart felt better. And I mean those things figuratively, like my brain and my well being felt at ease. There wasn't a constant stress response. I was allowing myself to be calm. And there was now reduced inflammation in my body, reduced water retention in my body. I was able to hear my body's signals clearly because I wasn't forcing my body constantly into a state of stress and breakdown. It changed everything for me.
How
And
many
to
hours
this,
a week? How
yeah.
many hours a week were you working out? Did you ever figure that out?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I was doing CrossFit class. So those classes are like 45 minutes to an hour. And then I was doing Wendler program the same day. Like I was running Wendler. So I was adding an extra 3 sessions in addition to 3 on 1 off CrossFit. So I was doing like another hour of 45 minutes of training. Plus, I was going on hour-long walks, but they weren't just walks. I was doing stair drills on like staircases throughout LA and doing yoga twice a week. It was excessive. I would never allow myself to sit ever. It was, to me, if I sat down, I was like unproductive, lazy, like horrible person. I would not sit down. It was so I'm talking about an extreme level here, but even when I train clients now and they work out every single day because they're trying to achieve this look, they're placing their self-worth on their ability to achieve and be productive and exercise, because for some reason exercising is moral, but there is no morality to it. It's not moral or immoral whether or not you exercise. It's not about that. And I just think you could do so much less. And what would you do with that time that is not just spent on a workout? And I know some people, a lot of people, you, Joey, work out because it has mental benefits for you, like psychological benefits for you. And it does for me too. But then there's a crossover when you get to too much that has a negative impact. And it's like finding that balance and really asking yourself, do I want to work out this much, or do I feel like I have to work out this much to accomplish some arbitrary made up thing that I've decided I will get? It's complicated. It's psychological. It's emotional. I mean, people have baggage around this stuff. And I have these clients who are working out every single day, and they're also moms, and they're also working full time. And I'm going like, is this really what you want, or is this what you feel like you have to do to attain and maintain this image? I can't. Sometimes it's hard. I don't know. I don't know I like. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that was a lot to unpack there, but
I know.
the reason why I asked you about volume is because every endurance athlete like compounds the work of what the like CrossFit, for example, right? Like the max you're working out, let's say 3 hours a day, let's just say 7 days a week, right? 21 hours in a week. That is nothing compared to what endurance folks go through. Like if you're training for an ultra marathon, that's like the
Yeah.
minimum baseline you need. Or like, and I know we're shifting gears here. We're advancing our company, but listeners, if you're out there and you're an endurance person, you need to hear this, because chances are like you're doing those minimum 25-hour session, or 25-hour volume weeks, right, for an Ironman, even more, right? And I'll never forget when I crossed the line at my first it was my first 100K, which is like 64 miles, and I was doing those freaking insane volume weeks. The solution, and this is kind of what you were saying, D, is like, what would you do with the rest of your time, right? This is when
Hmm.
it really clicked for me, was when at every race, right, sanctioned race, there's usually a medical professor or a medical doctor. And I remember she asked me, she said, I guarantee you if you took your blood work right now, it would look like you just are so unhealthy. It is not healthy, right? Like that performance chasing goals you have, there's a deal with the devil every athlete has to make with sacrificing their body and winning or performing to a level, just like you were in your CrossFit days. Like maybe you weren't competing, but still there was that payoff. And Pavel talks about the biological cost every person has to make when they choose to pursue a goal, whether it's fitness related or even aesthetic related, there's something you're going to have to give up for sure. But what I'm saying is, I think a great solution and where people should start making this actionable is look at your blood work. I think that is so highly in value or underrated is what your body's trying to tell you right now. Go get a blood
Mhm.
work. See what your testosterone is. See what your thyroid is. See how your A1C is, because those are all immediate markers of how you're performing right now. Biological feedback, right? And that should be your number one go-to for sure. I'll never forget when I took my blood work, it would look like a disaster. But would you agree that what are these actionable steps people could take? Because we have our stories,
Yeah.
right? You and I are extreme examples, right? But in the framework of life being busy, of the framework of that, there's this no days off mentality, more
Hmm.
workouts is better. Where should people start? I say blood work. What do you think people should do?
Yeah, I think mine's a little less black and white actionable than yours, but I think start with a thought experiment of this. If your body looked and felt exactly how you wanted it to, that perfect ideal image in your head, and there was nothing you could do or not do that would change the way your body looked and felt, what would you do with your time? What would you actually do with your time? How would you actually eat? Like, because you have this one life to live. Do you want to run yourself into the ground with constantly scheduling every aspect of your life and having to do? And just write down, like, even if you're not a journal person, just write it down. If my body looked and felt exactly how I've always wanted it to right now, and going forward, no matter what I did, no matter what I ate, no matter what I didn't do, it would never change. What would my days look like? How would I spend my time? What would I wear? Just go through that thought experiment and then start even just one little thing, living that life that you actually want to be living, that is not being informed by the way you look and the way you feel in your body. Because this is just our like meat suit. Listen to this podcast. She calls it a meat suit. It's not who we are. Our self-worth is not based on what we achieve. It is, we are worthy regardless of what we do. So that's the first thing. Just get a picture of, is this exercise you're doing what you want to be doing, or is it because you feel like you have to be doing it? I know we're getting like a little philosophical here, but I think it's really important. And then the other thing is, because I think the truth is, regardless of what you look like, I think it's our human nature to want to move. We were born to move our bodies. And that doesn't have to look like a workout, but like, how would you move if there was no like goal of like, well, strength training will build your muscle and speed up your metabolism and make you look hot? If there was no that, how would you move? Would you just dance? Would you just go on walks? Would you do yoga? Would you still lift weights? Like, even after that whole journey, I still always go back to weights. You know what I've been thinking recently, Joey, is like how meaningful my life is because I move. And if I didn't exercise, I think I would not have a meaningful life in so many ways. It's so important to me.
Wait,
But
say
I'm
that
not,
last part again.
how
The
the things
meaningful
that
life.
are so meaningful in my life, that give my life so much meaning, and make the things that I do, that I go like, this is my purpose here. One of them is moving my body. If I don't do that, I'm not talking about a workout, I'm talking about moving my body in ways that feel fun and creative and interesting to me. It is so deeply meaningful to me. It's like innate in who I am. I know that not a lot of people, but other people will say what's meaningful to them is like when they make a spreadsheet, right? When they, and I'm like, I could, that, if I never even saw a spreadsheet for the rest of my life again, I would not care. But if I couldn't like move my body in cool, interesting, fun ways, I would not be okay. But like really find out like what is the way you move that feels meaningful and fun to you.
Well, I'm going to continue on this philosophical thing because I would argue against that. Now, keep in mind, listeners, this is a trainer telling you. that you need to find something in life that is not movement based that gives you love, that gives you that sense of worthiness. And I'll never forget a 95, 96-year-old grandma. My wife's a pharmacist. She came to the pharmacy one day, happiest old lady you can ever be. She didn't work out a day in her life. She's clearly living life. She was always happy, always, always happy. And my wife asked her, like, can I ask you, like, what's your secret? How are you so fulfilled? And she joked, eat a cookie with the people that mean the most to you. And that eat a cookie with the people that mean the most to you. And that like just fired uh fireworks off in my wife's brain. We had a great conversation about it because it's it's not always about movement. I will argue with you, D there.
But I'm not
That,
saying it should be
well,
for
hang on, let me finish.
everyone.
Let me
I'm
finish.
saying it's
It's
me.
not, yeah, it's you. But movement is incredibly important for sure. But find a better, well, I shouldn't say better. Find a separate category in life that you can spend more time with, that makes you feel more fulfilled, whether it's reading a book, whether it's playing with your kids, whether it's learning how to play guitar or whatever. Stimulate that side of the brain because, like it or not, we're all going to age. When we are 95, right? We may not be able to do the movements or find the meaning that we used to when we got into those hobbies that we love with moving your body or dance or not. But I mean, people dance when they're 95, 96, right? That's my goal. But I challenge the listeners to find that meaning, find something outside of fitness, find something outside of moving, because eventually you're going to have to rely on that more so than you will your movement. That just came up in mind. And eat a cookie with the loved ones you love.
Well, I think we're on the same page because what I'm saying is I used to not move in ways that were meaningful and joyful to me because I was so hung up on I have to do my weightlifting sessions that
Performance
are
goal.
programmed
Mm-hmm.
versus I actually just want to climb. I just want to climb. And that might not be a structured workout, but if I'm not making time for moving, like doing some sort of like climbing or doing some sort of gymnastics skills, it's not meaningful to me if I'm always just moving in the same way. But what I am saying is like, if you are working out all the time and you sit down and you do that thought experiment and you realize, yeah, that's I wouldn't be working out this much if my body already looked the way I want it to look. Okay, now you can find that activity that is actually meaningful to you and put more time into that and switch your movement to something that only feels fun to you and just try it. Doesn't mean you can't go back to the workouts you are doing, but just try as an experiment. What are the ways that I just enjoy to move? Because that is the thing. Movement is important. We know that. We know that movement is important. And I genuinely think that even if you took the pressure off yourself to have to work out, you would still find ways to move your body because it feels good for humans to move their bodies. Um, but I'm saying find what is the fun way for you to move your body that maybe doesn't look like a workout. Maybe it's playing tag with your kids. Just do that. Try
Or
that.
country swing. Go learn
Country
how to
swing.
dance, people. Go learn how to dance. My wife and I took dance lessons to learn how to dance for a wedding, but like pickleball. Uh, you know what I was thinking of when you were saying all that is make sure your program has recovery weeks in it. I think that's massively overlooked. Like if you are a performance oriented person, you're driven, right? Hard discipline, right? That's okay. But in your program better have some offload weeks where you reduce the volume or you just go for walks that week or you learn to dance, right? Take that in consideration for sure. Make sure, and if you're already working with us, guaranteed you probably already have recovery weeks built in. But if you don't, that's another small step I think you could take. Blood work, program deload weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Especially like if you're in a stressful season of life, like separate from movement. I do not think intense workouts are the way to go. I think you should restructure your programming to be more gentle and your movement to be more gentle because of the stress response that you're already having separate than exercise. It will be very important to think about that. So,
What are your
yeah.
go-to movements that you like to do that are joint friendly? that feel good for you that aren't intensity? Because I got like a lot.
I mean, walking is like, I think, so underrated. I love a good walk, just a walk, like a leisurely walk. Also, because I've been getting back into yoga, I love it. Like if a week goes by and I'm not able to get to yoga, I'm like itching to get back. I'm like, I just want to stretch that much, it feels so good. Climbing for me, I know climbing is like a huge it requires a lot of strength, a lot of skill, but it feels good to move your body in that way, just to climb. I love doing that. Yeah, I think just, keep it simple. Just doing what you like to do.
For me, it's swimming, and I'm guilty of getting very competitive in the pool because I swim with a master's class, but we swam this morning. But swimming, number one. Number two is Eldoa. If you don't know what Eldoa is, stop this podcast, Google it right now. It is basically myofascial stretching, which is basically like these poses that help you recover, and they're challenging, but it gives you it gives you strength, it gives you stability, it gives you mobility. Check out Eldoa, Eldoa. Cheap plug there. And I would say number three would be walking, D. I would add to that, though,
Mhm.
backwards walking. Very common if you're able to backwards walk. Uh, Backwards walking is very big in the Asian culture. So set your timer, go for a 10-minute backward walk. I will say, too, getting upside down. You said that last episode, getting upside
Mhm.
down, changing your perspective, finding different ways to articulate your body like a down dog or a handstand, or if you're new to those, experiment lightly. But changing your perspective, especially with new movements, is the way to go.
I know. I really feel like some people are so creative and like they're artistic, or like they play music or sing music or write music or whatever. And I really truly believe that the way I express my creativity is through movement. It's like the one thing that I have that I'm like, this is how I can be creative. Yeah, you can't see Joey, but he's doing some creative movement right now. And I don't know. I just feel like if there is an outlet for creativity, go towards that. It feels so good. Just sit. Just see how long you can manage to sit down and be bored.
Don't do that. Sit on the ground. By the way, hot tip: if you want to improve your mobility, don't sit at your desk. Don't watch a movie on the couch. Sit on the ground because that will immediately increase your mobility. You'll notice you can't sit in the same spot for forever. You're going to hit in ranges of motions that you won't even. It's like a ninja way to improve your mobility. By the way, listener, we're coming close on time. We're not saying be lazy, by the way, right? Maybe be lazier. We're not saying don't lose sight of discipline. We're not saying that strengths aren't important, because I can see some people walking away from this podcast. Oh, I just need to be lazier. No, take it all within context. If you're doing too much, you know what you're doing wrong. If you're drinking a full pot of coffee, you know that's you. If you're not sleeping, we're talking to you.
Yeah, we're talking to the people who are feeling this desire, just like who have zero space in their life for just freedom and spontaneity. Just be, just be.
That's another thing too. Like if you're too busy, that's a liability for you because you don't have freedom to be with your friends or to help someone out, right? You see someone on the side of the road with a flat tire and you're too busy rushing to wherever your workout or whatever. Like get that freedom back in your life so you can help that person on the side of the road.
Did I tell you my mantras for the new year for 2026?
No, hit us.
It's be unbothered, be present. Be unbothered, be present. And I repeat that to myself when I feel myself becoming slightly bothered. I go, be unbothered, be present. I'm unbothered and I'm present.
Man, we should talk a breath. Maybe we'll save that for there's a Greek prayer out there. It's Kyrie su Christe eleison me that does the same thing. Slow down, be present, be where your feet are. Be where your
Mm-hmm.
feet are.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Well, this was a fun one. Hopefully, after this podcast, everyone just will do a meditation or something like that. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, I just felt pulled to have this discussion because it's something that's been on my mind so much recently. If you like the podcast, please, leave us a review. Please comment. As always, we have a link for you in our show notes to try out Trainwell for 14 days free. Get matched with your very own personal trainer who can write you a fun program that feels good in your body.
Share the show, share it with your loved ones. More importantly, share it with the busiest of people you know. Talk to you guys next time.
Bye.